Hey, what's up, Silver Stackers? Thanks so much for being here. This is Silver Slayer. In 1933, FDR got elected and did the unthinkable. He banned gold. This was the Executive Order 6102, stating that on or before May 1st, 1933, all gold coins, gold bullion, and gold certificates are now owned by the Federal Reserve. You have to turn all of them in. And if you don't, you will face a $10,000 fine, 10 years imprisonment, or both. This was also changing the gold to silver ratio from 16 to 1 to 75 to 1 overnight. He single handedly devalued silver and made everyone turn their gold in, confiscated it. Now, why? We're going to look at this. And also, I wanted to bring this event to the table because could this ever happen again? We know that many times throughout history, countries have confiscated the people's gold, and it's always in times of war, economic uncertainty. Because remember, we determine a country's wealth on how much gold they have. The link to this article will be in the description. I'm also doing a giveaway. If you haven't entered, you might want to. I updated the prize pool. That link will also be in the description or the pinned comment. May the luckiest stacker win. So when owning gold was illegal in America and why it could be again, I did actually make a video about the possibility of silver getting banned as it was once before. Not many people know that. It was called Silver Rule 7. The government banned silver on the COMEX because the Hunt brothers owned up to 77% of the global silver supply, tried to turn all those contracts into physical delivery. Obviously, the government couldn't have that, so they banned silver. You had to turn it in. Now, in 1933, FDR was elected president of the United States by promising to end the Great Depression, which had driven the national unemployment rate up to 25% and gutted the economy. Now, during his presidential campaign, FDR promised to lower government spending and taxes and balance the budget. Once in office, he did the exact opposite. FDR's government spent more in an effort to create jobs and increase consumer demand. He raised taxes to fund the hike in spending as well as key government services. All of this was meant to stimulate the economy while assisting struggling American households. So, in order to bring the nation out of the depths of the economic depression that had begun in 1921 or 1929 with the stock market crash. Now, this is pretty crazy. And even going back to the story of the Hunt brothers, these three brothers, billionaires, spent billions in silver. They got into silver. They cornered the silver market because gold was banned at the time. A lot of people don't know gold was banned for several decades. I mean, FDR put this in notice in 1933, and we're about to find out how long this was until gold was unbanned from President Nixon. Now, FDR quickly realized, however, that he could not print enough money to pay for his spending program, even by increasing taxes. The Federal Reserve Act of 1914 limited the amount of money that could be printed by the government. All Federal Reserve notes, paper money, had to be backed by 40% gold owned by the federal government. In other words, for every dollar printed, the government needed 40 cents of gold backing in the bank. Now, since that is the case, you could imagine why he needed everyone's gold. Because if you needed 40 cents of gold for every dollar printed, that's a lot of gold, especially with the excessive printing of fiat. So, of course, he's going to confiscate everyone's gold for that. Same time or same instance in times of war or recessions and economic uncertainty. That's when people confiscate gold. That's when countries do. And it's actually happened several times throughout history. I've actually made a video covering every single time this has happened, and it's a lot. I mean, we're talking about a dozen times plus. So FDR outlaws gold. One of FDR's first acts as president, therefore, was to declare the fact that Americans were withdrawing their gold and currency from the beleaguered banking system. National emergency. He ordered all banks to close from March 6th to March 9th in order to prevent the export hoarding or ear making of gold and silver coin and bullion or currency. Now, this is pretty interesting as well because um, when he did this, I'm sure that a lot of people were resistant. Imagine like now in today's time, if Joe Biden came out and said everyone has to turn their silver in, and that's to save the world, the green revolution, zero net emissions by the year 2040. We need solar panels. We need EVs. We don't have enough silver, so give us your silver. Help save the world. We'll buy it at a set price, just like FDR did. Would you do it? I mean, imagine that situation back then. Like, that was probably insane to just see in the newspaper waking up one morning. So because he believed this action was not sufficient to prevent runs on banks and the resulting drain of gold from the system, on April 5th, 1933, 1 month after taking office, Roosevelt used the powers granted to the president by trading with the Enemy Act of 1917 to make sure that gold ownership was illegal. He issued the Executive Order 6102, made gold ownership, both in coins and bars, illegal for all Americans and punishable 10 years in prison. Imagine, first of all, a $10,000 fine in 1933. Imagine how much money that is today. I mean, that's $100,000 plus, but also 10 years in prison or both. The or both part is really what gets me. Imagine having to do both of those. Now, there was a couple coins, numismatic types of coins that were allowed, but he's talking about bullion, right? He needed bullion. So Americans required to hand gold into the government, and the government was buying each ounce of gold for $20.67 an ounce per troy ounce. Americans who did not turn in their gold were subject to arrest on criminal charges and faced up to 10 years in prison. An exception was made for dentists who could own up to 100 ounces. Wow, 100 ounces of gold for a dentist, that's a lot. I mean, yes, gold is used in, for man, but still, 100 ounces. I mean, 1 ounce of gold. How many patients do you think that could help? An ounce of gold. I mean, I don't know. Like that's pretty. That's a lot, in my opinion. Let me know what you think about that. But anyways, the Proclamation 6102 also prohibited the use of gold in contracts. This was upheld by Supreme Court 1935 in what we called the Gold Clause cases. And since we're talking about gold in this video, I thought it would be perfect to update you guys on GSX, which is gold secured currency, a crypto backed by physical gold, and they actually mine the gold out of the ground themselves. First question is, they opened up their visitor center. You can actually go visit them and they'll show you, the mining operations and learn about it. What if I took a trip to Zambia and actually went to the visitor center, made like a vlog? I think that would be really cool. I mean, this honestly, genuinely, this company is blowing my mind. I think it's so revolutionary. It's not just a crypto backed by physical gold. They're doing a lot and they've done a lot. They're proving themselves. This is the real deal. These guys are really taking this seriously, and I'm impressed. I mean, they've done a lot. I'm not going to go over everything they've done, but just a couple of things. They made their own crypto exchange. They showed all their mining sites. They actually have video footage. They opened their visitor center. They've done so many other things like Knoxwire, which is an international payment system. I mean, they've done a lot. Even GSX is real currency in some parts of South Africa. But anyways, I wanted to go over the first quarter and second quarter of 2022 because you could see since 2019, these are all the check marks. This is their their roadmap, and they've done all this stuff. But they're also going into other assets besides just gold. A lot of other things, like you could see right here, the expansion to the nickel mining operations, other metals. That's in 2024. But they also have gold and copper. They have, what was the other one? Tantalum. Lots of different assets they're mining out of the ground. They post geological reports. I want to go check out one of their mining sites. I think that would be so cool. But anyways, first quarter 2022, Knoxwire partnership for adoption of GSX by large-scale financial institutions. Their visitor center in Massawa, Zimbabwe is now open. As I mentioned and showed in the last video, I even showed what the visitor center looks like. They're actually going to be even putting a 24/7 live feed up at the mining site so you could watch from home, the mining and what the mines look like and all that. They also have mining claim certificates for mining 2,600 acres, copper and gold, which they did get. I mean, they've already covered a lot of this in the first quarter. Mass adoption of GSX through Zimbabwe, which they're doing a lot of already. I mean, a lot of this is just crazy. They also did claim the Zambia mine, which I showed in my last video showing where like the capital is and the two mining locations they have. I mean, it's really cool if you look into this. I know there's a lot. That's why I try to update you guys and show you guys everything. But I always recommend go to Bitmart since it's very beginner friendly and it's one of the most popular crypto exchanges out there. So yeah, GSX. Let's go back to this gold confiscation thing. And I would love for you to all let me know if you think gold or silver or both will ever be confiscated again in the future. And it's interesting since gold would be confiscated for a completely different reason than silver would. And this really does show the difference between these two metals. Gold is a monetary metal, and that's why they would be confiscating it, to back a country. Silver is more of an industrial metal, and that's why they would confiscate silver because they need it for all this technology we're advancing in for 5G towers, solar panels, and EVs. It's just interesting that really shows how silver could take on a life of its own and already why it is. Now, millions of Americans waited in long lines to hand in their gold. Many photos from this era are often cited as examples of people getting their money out of the banks when in fact they were simply turning in their gold in accordance with FDR's new laws. With gold and paper money now separated, FDR was able to increase the Federal Reserve deficit or the federal deficit by issuing bonds, which debt in exchange for paper money. He used the paper money raised through government bond issues to pay for the many government programs he initiated as part of his New Deal program. Now, sadly, FDR's New Deal did not end the Great Depression. Instead, in 1937, stock market collapsed by 90%, and unemployment soared. Then in the 1970s, U.S. government removed the last remaining restraint on federal government's deficits. And then, like I said earlier, Nixon ends the gold standard. Nixon did. 1971, gold started to pour out of the U.S. government stockpile due to large deficits in both the federal budget and trade balance. This is insane. From 1933 to 1971. 1933 to 1971, gold was banned, and then gold standard was removed. That means our money was no longer backed by gold, and our money is basically worthless. It's a promise. Instead of that dollar being backed with 40 cents of gold, like they were trying to do, that dollar's backed by nothing. By nothing. A walking Liberty half dollar had 50 cents worth of silver in it. So when you went to the store clerk and handed that half dollar in, you're giving the store clerk something of value. Nowadays, those 2 quarters have nothing of value inside of it, right? And you can see why we're $30 trillion in debt now. So I wonder, here's the part where they talk about if the gold standard or if they could ever confiscate people's gold again. Could the federal government ever move to seize gold from American citizens again? When the government nationalized gold coin and bullion nearly 80 years ago, it gave Americans less than a month to turn in their gold. It's hard to imagine this happening again, but it's important to be aware of the very real history of gold confiscation in the U.S. and to be conscious of the economic pressures that can make a president decide to take such actions, and especially when you incorporate why they would confiscate silver. I mean, we're living in crazy times, so expect crazy circumstances and situations to arise. There's been crazier things that's happened, right? So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. If you thought this video was 1, educational, 2, informational, 3, at least entertaining, do you also own gold? Let me know. Let me know. A lot of people use like a ratio of like maybe every 100 ounces of silver, you acquire 1 ounce of gold, or maybe every 100 ounces of silver, you acquire a half ounce of gold. What is your portfolio? Do you diversify into gold? I definitely think there are benefits to gold. I mean, you can fit $100,000 worth of gold in a shoebox. You can't do that with silver. It's a lot of storage space. So there's various different reasons. Plus, gold is more of a store of wealth as it's a monetary metal. Silver's a monetary metal, but also more of an industrial metal. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this video up here. Thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.